What if I told you about a guy who was a 6-time All-Star, had some of the sickest dunks you'll ever see, and became one of the NBA's most electrifying players? Just disappeared one day. That's what happened to our guy Shawn Kemp. One moment he was one of the NBA's brightest stars, flying through the air with the kind of dunks that made you literally jump out your seat. And the next, he was on a decline, fading away from the spotlight. But how did this even happen? Where did he go? And where is he now? The Rain Man's greatness didn't start in the NBA. Back in high school, Shawn Kemp quickly became a standout player at Concord High School. He was known for his athleticism, standing at 6 feet 10 inches tall, and for his ability to jump out the gym. His journey through high school basketball was nothing short of impressive. Kemp became a 4-year starter, making a name for himself as one of the top basketball players in the state of Indiana. He led his team to the state championship finals, though they fell short in the title game. Despite not winning the championship, Kemp left a lasting legacy. By the time he graduated, he had become Elkhart County's all-time leading scorer. His scoring records at Concord High School still stands to this day, including the school's career, single game, and single season scoring records. Kemp's high school performances were enough to earn him recognition as one of the best in the country. He was named to the prestigious McDonald's High School All-American team in 1988, a class that featured several future NBA stars like Alonzo Mourning and Christian Laettner. In his McDonald's All-American game, Kemp scored a team-high 18 points. His talent on the court drew attention from all over the country, and coaches would often go out of their way to scout him. However, despite all of his achievements, Kemp did not win the Indiana Mr. Basketball Award, which went to Woody Austin that year. Some speculated that his commitment to the University of Kentucky played a role in his decision, as Kemp had no plans to stay in-state, unlike Austin, who committed to Purdue, which of course is in Indiana. After high school, Kemp signed a national letter of intent to play college basketball for the University of Kentucky. However, his journey to college basketball wasn't as smooth as one would seem. He failed to meet the NCAA's SAT requirements, which meant that he would have to sit out his entire freshman year under the NCAA's rules. This setback made it difficult for Kemp to stay focused, as he was now enrolled in Kentucky but not able to play the game that he loved. Kemp's frustration grew, and in 1988 he left the University of Kentucky, transferring to Trinity Valley Community College in Texas. However, his time at Trinity Valley didn't last long. He didn't play for the team, but instead focused on training and getting ready for his next step. Kemp decided to take a bold step and declare himself eligible for the 1989 NBA draft. This was a risky move since he didn't have any college basketball experience, but his raw athleticism and potential were enough to catch the eye of NBA scouts. In the 1989 NBA draft, the Seattle SuperSonics selected Kemp as the 17th overall pick. At just 19 years old, Kemp became the youngest player in the NBA at that time. The decision to go straight to the NBA was unconventional, but it paid off. The SuperSonics believed in Kemp's potential, and the rest of the league soon saw why. His physical tools, his size, athleticism, and jumping ability were unlike anything many had seen before in a power forward. Despite his raw talent, Kemp's rookie season was a learning experience. He had to adjust to the speed and physicality of the NBA. However, with the guidance of veteran teammates like Xavier McDaniels, Kemp began to show flashes of brilliance. Though his first year wasn't a breakout season, it was clear that he had the foundation to become a star in the league. Kemp's second season in Seattle marked the beginning of the rise to stardom. With the SuperSonics' revamped roster and the addition of Gary Payton, Kemp's role on the team expanded. Payton, who was drafted by the SuperSonics in 1990, quickly became a key figure in the team's success, and the two formed a dynamic duo. Payton's incredible defensive skills and playmaking ability complemented Kemp's athleticism and dunking ability. The two became one of the most exciting tandems in the NBA. Kemp's rise was meteoric. His jump from a rookie with promise to an all-star caliber player was fueled by his incredible athleticism. One of his most iconic moments came in 1992 during a playoff game against the Golden State Warriors. Kemp dunked over Warriors center Alton Lister, and in one of the most famous dunks in NBA history, the dunk became known as the Lister Blister, and it solidified Kemp's reputation as one of the most fearsome dunkers in the game. Kemp's athleticism and power earned him the nickname the Rain Man after a SuperSonics announcer saw a poster with the name and decided to adapt it for Kemp's broadcast. The nickname perfectly captured Kemp's style of play: high-flying, powerful, and unstoppable when he was on the court. The 1995-96 season marked the peak of Kemp's career and one of the most successful seasons for the Seattle SuperSonics. The team finished with a franchise record of 64 wins and made it to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1979. Kemp played a key role in the team's success, averaging 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. His performance in the finals against the Chicago Bulls was stellar, and despite the Sonics losing to the Bulls in 6 games, Kemp's individual performances earned him a close second place in the NBA Finals MVP voting, almost becoming the first player to win the award despite being on the losing team. The 1996 Finals showcased Kemp's all-around game, including his scoring, rebounding, and shot blocking ability. During these years in Seattle, Kemp became one of the most electrifying players in the league. His combination of size, skill, and athleticism redefined what a power forward could do on the court. Kemp was no longer just a dunker. He was a complete player who could dominate on both ends of the floor. His partnership with Gary Payton, along with a solid supporting cast, helped make the SuperSonics one of the best teams in the NBA during the mid-90s. Kemp's time in Seattle was filled with memorable moments, from his thunderous dunks to his incredible athleticism that allowed him to be one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. The 1995-96 season was the highlight of his career, and it's remembered as one of the most exciting times in the history of the Seattle SuperSonics. By the mid-1990s, Shawn Kemp was at the peak of his powers. After years of dominating in Seattle and leading the SuperSonics to success, Kemp has cemented his place as one of the most exciting players in the NBA. However, despite his on-court success, he found himself in the middle of a contract dispute with the team that would eventually lead to his departure. Kemp's frustration began after the 1994 season when the SuperSonics offered him a contract extension. At the time, the NBA's collective bargaining agreement prevented any renegotiations or contract adjustments until October of 1997. So basically, he had no opportunity to renegotiate his deal to earn more money, and other players who didn't match his performances were signing larger contracts. And this left Kemp feeling undervalued and frustrated. The situation got worse when the Sonics signed center Jim McIlvaine to a 7-year, $33.6 million contract. For Kemp, this was like a slap in the face. Jim was a talented big man, but his impact on the court didn't come close to matching Kemp's dominance. To make matters worse, Jim's new deal exceeded Kemp's, despite Shawn Kemp being the clear star of the team. This only added more fuel to Kemp's frustration. Kemp's dissatisfaction with the situation led to a holdout during the 1996-97 season. He stayed away from training camp for 22 days, making it clear he wanted more money and a new deal that reflected his importance to the team. Even though the situation was tense, Kemp returned to play for the Sonics, but the damage had been done. His relationship with the organization had soured, and the lack of a new contract left him feeling undervalued. Despite his off-court drama, Kemp still managed to deliver on the court. The 1996-97 season saw the Sonics finish with a solid record of 57-25. Kemp played well throughout the season, averaging 19 points and 10 rebounds per game, and he was still the team's star, even if the frustration from his contract situation seemed to weigh heavily on him. The SuperSonics had another strong year, but they were unable to make it past the second round of the playoffs. They faced off against the Houston Rockets in a tough series that they would eventually lose in 7 games, marking the end of another promising playoff run. After the conclusion of the 1996-97 season, the tension between Kemp and the SuperSonics reached its breaking point. In the summer of 1997, Kemp was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Sonics sent Kemp to Cleveland in exchange for Vin Baker, a former All-Star forward, and a few other players. The trade marked the end of an era in Seattle, and it began a new chapter in Kemp's career. Kemp's time with the Cleveland Cavaliers began with a lot of promise. He was coming off of his best years with the Sonics, and there was hope that he could bring his explosive game to Cleveland. When he first arrived, Kemp was still a dominant force. In his first season with the Cavaliers, he posted some of the best numbers of his career. He averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds per game during the 1997-98 season, leading the Cavaliers to a playoff appearance. Kemp's scoring output was at an all-time high, and he proved that he could still be one of the best players in the league. He had the physical tools to dominate in the paint and was still capable of putting up big numbers on the offensive glass. His role on the team was that of a primary scorer and rebounder, and he was effective in both areas. However, despite his individual success, the Cavaliers' playoff run in 1998 ended in disappointment. They were matched up against the Indiana Pacers in the first round of the playoffs, and despite Kemp's stellar performances, the Cavaliers were swept in 4 games. Kemp averaged 26 points and 13 rebounds per game during the series, but it wasn't enough to prevent the Cavaliers from being eliminated. The next few seasons in Cleveland were a mixture of highs and lows for Kemp. He was still capable of putting up impressive numbers, but his weight began to become a significant issue. During the 1998-99 season, Kemp showed up to training camp overweight, reportedly weighing in at around 280 pounds. However, some reports suggested that he had gained even more weight and went all the way up to 315 pounds. This weight gain affected his performances on the court. He became less mobile, less explosive, and less effective on both ends of the floor. His playing style had always relied on athleticism, but now that his body was carrying more weight, it became harder for him to maintain the high level of play he was once known for. Although he still put up decent numbers, his performances were beginning to slip. By the 1999-2000 season, Kemp's struggles with weight and conditioning were becoming more apparent. He was no longer the high-flying, high-energy player he had been in Seattle. His weight problems, combined with the toll of the years in the NBA, led to a shift in his style of play. Kemp relied more on his mid-range game and post moves, rather than the explosive dunks and leaping ability that had once defined him. His quickness had diminished, and his defensive presence was not as strong as it had been early in his career. Despite these struggles, Kemp still had moments of brilliance with Cleveland. He had a solid season in 1999, averaging 20 points and 9 rebounds per game. However, the Cavaliers were no longer a playoff contender, and Kemp's time in Cleveland was coming to an end. In 2000, Kemp was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. Kemp's time in Portland was less than stellar, though. His performances continued to decline, and he was now a far cry from the dominant player he had once been. His weight problems, lack of fitness, and diminished skills made him a role player on a deep Blazers roster. Kemp's time with the Blazers was short, lasting only 2 seasons, and by the end of the 2002 season, Kemp was waived by Portland. Kemp's time in Portland marked the end of his career as a starting caliber player. His role has shifted to a bench player, and he was no longer a focal point in any team's offense. In 2002, Kemp signed with the Orlando Magic for what would be his final NBA season. Kemp played a significant role in Orlando's playoff push, but he was eventually replaced by Juwan Howard, who had a more consistent and reliable impact on the team. Kemp's last season in the NBA was marked by a decline in his athleticism and overall effectiveness. He was still capable of contributing, but he just wasn't the player he had once been. He wasn't even close. Kemp's final years in the NBA were a far cry from his game. The explosive dunks and powerful plays that had defined his career were completely gone, replaced by a more subdued version of the player he once was. His struggles with weight and fitness caught up with him, and his body was no longer able to perform at the elite level it once had. By the time Kemp's NBA career was winding down, he had gone from being one of the most exciting players in the league to a shadow of his former self. His weight problems, combined with issues related to substance abuse, significantly impacted his ability to stay in shape and perform at the highest of levels. His decline was marked by inconsistency, and he was no longer the player who could take over a game with his athleticism and power. Despite his struggles, Kemp's impact on the game was undeniable. He had been one of the best dunkers in NBA history and had helped redefine the role of the power forward. His high-flying style of play was literally groundbreaking, and he became a fan favorite wherever he played. However, his later years were overshadowed by personal issues, and his decline was swift. As Kemp moved from team to team, he tried to adapt to a different role. He was no longer the focal point of an offense or the go-to guy for his team. His once incredible athleticism had faded, and he struggled to find his place on the court. His final years in the NBA were a reminder of how quickly a career can change in the world of professional sports. Although he had a promising career, the second half of his playing days were overshadowed by personal issues and performance decline. In the 2005-2006 NBA season, Kemp made a serious attempt to make a comeback. He was determined to prove he still had the the talent and physical ability to play at the highest level. Kemp worked out with the Dallas Mavericks and later the Chicago Bulls to show teams that he had slimmed down and was in better shape than before. The Mavericks, who were one of the top teams in the league at the time, saw potential in Kemp and were intrigued by his efforts. However, despite those efforts and the personal training he underwent, Kemp ultimately failed to secure a spot with either team. His age, combined with the lingering effects of his past weight issues and personal struggles, made it difficult for him to regain that level of play that had made him an NBA star in his prime. Kemp's NBA comeback was a dream that never fully materialized. After his failed attempts to return to the NBA, Kemp looked for other ways to stay involved in basketball. In 2008, he signed overseas to an Italian basketball team. The deal was exciting as it gave him another shot at professional basketball, but it quickly came to an end. Kemp did not play in any games with the team as personal reasons led to the cancellation of his stint in Italy. The short-lived experience in Europe marked the final attempt of his playing career. After that, Shawn Kemp officially retired from professional basketball. In retirement, Kemp has shifted his focus towards other interests, including his love for Seattle. He had been a beloved figure in the city during his playing days, and even after he stopped playing, he continued to have a strong connection to the community. He worked on bringing basketball back to Seattle, even as the city's NBA team, the SuperSonics, had been relocated to Oklahoma City in 2008. Kemp's desire to keep the basketball spirit alive in Seattle led him to open a sports bar in the lower Queen Anne area, which he named Oscar's Kitchen. Though the bar would eventually close in 2015, Kemp's effort to contribute to Seattle sports culture showed his continued love for the city and its basketball community. Shawn Kemp's basketball achievements weren't just limited to his time in the NBA. He also had a significant role on an international stage. In 1994, Kemp was selected to represent the United States at the FIBA World Championship held in Toronto. Kemp played an important role in helping Team USA secure the gold medal, and his performances during the tournament earned him a spot on the All-American team. This was a major accomplishment for Kemp as he was competing with the best players in the world. Throughout the tournament, Kemp demonstrated his incredible athleticism and ability to dominate both offensively and defensively. His high-flying dunks and physical presence on the court made him a key player for Team USA. In the championship game against Russia, Kemp showed his skills of 14 points and 9 rebounds, helping secure the victory and the gold medal for the United States. His ability to perform on the international stage was another reminder of how dominant he could be when fully healthy and in shape. Kemp's personal life was just as eventful as his basketball career. Over the years, he became a father to at least 7 children from 6 different women. His family life has often been a subject of media attention, but Kemp has always remained committed to his kids. His oldest son, Shawn Kemp Jr., followed in his father's footsteps and played basketball at the University of Washington, while his other son played at Southeastern Louisiana University. Kemp's family, especially his sons, has continued to be a significant part of his life as he transitioned from his basketball career to his post-retirement ventures. Beyond his family, Kemp turned to business ventures after retiring from basketball. One of his biggest investments was in the restaurant industry. He became the owner of a sports bar in Seattle called Oscar's Kitchen, though the bar closed in 2015. It was a testament to Kemp's effort to stay connected to Seattle and its sports community. His business success didn't stop there. In 2020, Kemp expanded his cannabis industry by opening Shawn Kemp's Cannabis dispensary in Seattle. The dispensary quickly became popular, and Kemp was joined at the grand opening by his former SuperSonics teammate, Gary Payton, who brought along his own cannabis brand. Kemp's involvement in the cannabis industry was another example of how he continued to stay active and invested in his community. Kemp's post-retirement life wasn't without its challenges, though, including several run-ins with the law in 2005. The most legal trouble Kemp faced came in March of 2023, when he was arrested in Tacoma, Washington, in connection with an alleged drive-by. The details of the incident were unclear, but Kemp was initially released without being charged. Later, he was formally charged with first-degree assault, and after a hearing in Pierce County Superior Court, he was released without bail. This latest legal issue added another chapter to Kemp's complicated post-basketball life. While Kemp's basketball career was the centerpiece of his public life, he also ventured into acting. In 2021, he made a cameo appearance in Aqua Teen Forever Plantasm, the latest installment in the Aqua Teen Hunger Force franchise. The show, known for its quirky and absurd humor, gave Kemp the opportunity to showcase a different side of his personality. It was a lighthearted moment in Kemp's post-basketball career, offering fans a chance to see him in a new light outside of the basketball court. Though his acting career didn't take off in a major way, this cameo was a fun addition to Kemp's post-NBA journey. But these days, you can catch the Red Man running his 2 cannabis shops in the Soto district and Belltown of Seattle. You can also catch him on various different podcasts and other ventures. Shawn Kemp's legacy in the NBA is simply undeniable. He was one of the most exciting players of the 1990s, known for his jaw-dropping dunks, athleticism, and ability to dominate the paint. Kemp helped redefine the role of the power forward, showcasing that big men didn't just have to play with their backs to the basket. He was part of a generation of players who broke the traditional mold of what a big man could do, combining speed, strength, and finesse to be one of the league's most dynamic forces. Shawn Kemp may not always get the recognition he deserves, but for those who saw him play, his legacy as one of the most explosive and entertaining players of the 1990s remains intact. Kemp's contributions to the game both on and off the court should never be forgotten. His athleticism, his role in shaping the modern power forward, and his impact on Seattle's basketball culture will always be remembered by his fans and players. But what if I told you about a guy who scored over 11,000 career points, dished out nearly 3,000 career assists, shot almost 40% from 3, won the Most Improved Player award, and was a key piece in the Magic's NBA Finals run, just disappeared one day? If you want to know about what happened to Hedo Turkoglu, just click right here.